if you do post a professional web page, there are some things to consider. First, one of the issues that arises is that are you actually developing a therapist or professional client relationship simply by having a web page? Well, not necessarily. It depends on the nature of the web page. So let's say you decide to put up a page about yourself, you have a blog, and you have basic information about your training, your practice, the work you do, and you give people a number or a way they can reach you that is reasonably private, but you don't have any way for them to interact with you online. And you say, you know, this is my material. If you're interested in becoming a client or interested in talking to me, let's meet via phone first before anything else. That's a passive web page. And a passive web page is like a yellow page ad. It's perfectly okay to do. All of these are perfectly okay to do. But what it does, at least at this point in time, is it allows you to be the gatekeeper as to whether someone is your client. The other end of the extreme are the highly interactive websites. For example, if I had a website and invited people on and said, take this personality test and decide whether you are, a particular archetype, or I've got depression inventories and anxiety inventories. Are you anxious? Well, once a person starts to interact with the site, with active sites, the question becomes, are they now my client? And it's not an unreasonable response to say, in some circumstances, yes. Which means that with active websites, I could have people who are my clients who I've never met and I don't know. Now, there are some corporations who really love that idea because it means you can have this set of services for people where you don't have to have folks providing the therapy. But from my perspective now, and maybe I'm a bit of a Luddite about this, I would like, and I encourage most systems to have real gatekeeping functions over who you see and do not see. We have to screen because not everybody's appropriate for our services. Somebody who's appropriate for your service I may not be able to work with, and vice versa. Right? In terms of my training and skills and experience, but also the need level for our clients may be radically different. Or we both may say, can't work with somebody who's on the more severe end spectrum in terms of their borderline functioning. They need a team rather than an individual provider. I was describing the two ends of the spectrum for a professional website, the passive site, and then an active one, where it's pretty clear that there's an engagement in some kind of service provision, even if we may not intend that. So you know what I'm going to say. Better to stay on the passive end of the spectrum, at least at this point in time. There are also what Recupero and Applebaum a number of years ago talked about as hybrid websites, where there's a mixture of things you can have people do on the website. It's like moderately active, and those are the gray area. So somebody may be able to argue that they're a client, maybe they won't be considered one. My own sense is that at this point, if you have links to, for example, some reasonable resources, maybe you have a national parenting network information services if you provide parenting related evaluations, or you have the SAMHSA site material on depression or anxiety, and it's linked to that. That's more than likely not a significant problem. It is a hybrid, but you're not saying to people, I'm engaging you as a client. You have to be careful about the links. And sometimes links will show up on our sites that we don't intend. And Keely was talking to me about this a bit, that if you're purchasing, say, a package of material, or you're going to use something, they may have other types of pop-ups show up. So just be careful about what you link to, and have it be information that would generally be considered pretty mainstream, okay? But non-interactive. So it's not a matter of I come to your website and I get to do a test I could learn about my functioning. That's where it can get problematic, okay? Or where there's actually some kind of intervention that is conducted. If we're going to have websites, we need to be thoughtful about whether we're going to collect information about people who visit. From a business standpoint, it's great to know where you're getting your referrals from. But from a privacy standpoint, it might be important to really respect that people should be able to come and go without being tracked. Now, of course, the NSA is tracking them, but that's a different story. And beware that we can actually have cookies or little data that follows where people go, and take reasonable steps to assure that the folks who come to your site are not identified. What do I mean by that? You can ask very often. And for example, Alliant has a survey program called Qualtrics. It's a commercial survey program. And you get to make a choice when people come to take your survey that you can track where their internet provider was from and the number or not. And if you choose that you will not, then Qualtrics doesn't collect that information either. But if you choose that you will, then obviously they get it as well as you get it because it's on their site. You want to know that the sites that you're using allow you that kind of control, and you have to read the contracts pretty carefully. You want to look at what they keep, what they track. Often they really like getting all this visiting data. Why? Because it tells them where business is coming from, and then they go more in that direction. I'm conservative about that. My idea is the sites that we have are for informational purposes. They're trying to expand and affect our digital footprint. And we need to balance this idea of tracking and then let people know if we are going to track them, if there are going to be cookies, if they come to the site, will it be known, will I know that they've come to the site? Okay? I think it's a good thing to say, I won't track you. I want people to come and visit and get information and be able to do so without having to reveal much about themselves.